All right, so today we're doing a direct engine swap on a 2017 Hyundai Elantra. The 2-liter model with the automatic CVT transmission. And we already have the engine separated from the transmission. As you can see right there, there's 9 bolts around the bell housing that you have to take out. There they are. And the reason I do it this way is I pull mainly everything from the top first, like what I have access to, and then I start going after the transmission bolts. And so really the last thing I need to do is just undo the exhaust flange back there by the O2 sensor, which is the upper and lower nut. It's 18 or 19 millimeter. And once the exhaust is free, I'll just have to figure out what's up with the AC lines and either disconnect them, which wouldn't be the end of the world, or take the AC compressor off the block and just let it hang. But I think I might just disconnect the AC lines and save myself some time, because the AC in this car needed a recharge. The only other thing is just miscellaneous wires down low that I couldn't get to because they were sandwiched between the radiator and the front of the engine. But everything around the sides, and there's not too much in the back, surprisingly, just really the exhaust manifold and nothing on the other side. It's really all in the front, and then on this driver's side of the engine is where most of your connections are: electrical, plumbing, fuel line, etc. And once you have all that, what I did was I got under there and I spun the engine by hand with the inspection plate off to get the 4 bolts, crank bolts out. They're really short. They're over there, right there. If you can see them, you can see how short they are. So once you get 4 of those out, then you can come back to the top and keep doing the rest of your transmission bolts. And like I said, there's 9 of them. So make sure you pull all 9 so you don't have any issues, and then your motor will pretty much fall out of the car. And the mount was one of the first things I took off on the left side, because it just sort of gets in the way. And when you can move the engine a little bit around, when it's almost there, you can sort of see, it's easier to see what's left, and you can sometimes have more space to disconnect it that way while the motor's up a couple inches. It sometimes gives you enough working room so you can just keep going with this at a nice pace. I'm only about 3.5 hours into this, so I expect to have the engine out in 4 hours, which is a little slow, but it'll be okay for now. So let's keep going. I got the exhaust nuts off just by raising the engine up just a little bit, and I brought those flanges up a little higher so I could reach them from the top. You know, just put some blankets down right here, put your knees up here, bend all the way down in there, and put a 19 millimeter 6-point socket on there, because it's not a perfect fit. I wonder if those are standard size. And then heat it up with a torch, plumber's torch first, because those nuts needed some serious leverage. I have probably like 50 or 60 foot-pounds on those. So once I got those out, those probably took the longest. It was like 15 minutes for each one. And now I'm on like hour 4. But I think the good news is we can finally start lifting this thing out of the car, and there's just a couple more miscellaneous wires, and like I said, the AC hoses that I'm about to disconnect. Other than that, it's ready to come out. Oh, it's a little further. Had to do some more, undo some more wires in the front. Undid the AC line here, AC line on the low pressure side on the compressor. And as you can see, the engine is sticking up pretty high out of the car. So it's almost there. And what's gonna have to happen is this left side, passenger side, will have to come out higher than this driver side because of the way the orientation of the engine, being that's in sideways. So it's gonna be a little bit of shimmying on the chains, wiggling the motor, and lifting up at the same time, because there should be theoretically nothing else. Like I said, you have to shimmy the motor because none of this is perfect, and none of this fits in here perfect where you're yanking these engines out from the top all the time. It's normally they come out from the bottom on a hoist. And in any case, if you're in a backyard and you know, all you got is jacks and whatnot, it can be done like this. And I just have hand tools and stuff. I have basic wrenches, basic sockets, no deep well sockets for this really. Maybe I used a deep well socket on one thing, but I can't even really remember. Other than that, plumber's torch for the exhaust bolts, but everything else comes out pretty easy. So here we go, we're gonna keep cranking away. Noting that although I didn't mean to undo starter bolts, I guess the starter bolts go into the bell housing of the transmission. So I had to go up and down a few times on the hoist, on the chain fall, but what I did then was I just let it back down, put my pry bar in there. And as soon as I did that, I was able to get around that hump of the starter. And then once you do that, smooth sailing. So here we go. Keep pumping, keep pumping, keep cranking, and you can see it coming. It's coming out. And like I said, it's easier to raise it up and then see how much closer all the wires are in the front and everything. Like, it's way easier to do it this way and leave the harness in the car because the transmission and everything is still plugged in and you don't want to mess with that. So what you want to do is just raise it up enough to where you can get the rest of the connections, then go ahead and continue on pulling. So I'll check back in a second. Cranking, undid some more wires on the front, starter wire, starter fell out, and now we're just barely clearing the hood there. As you can see, it's coming out. It's just, you gotta work it, but it is almost there. So we have the engine out here, and that's what it looks like with no engine.